Tea time, yeah, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time, time.
Well, welcome everybody. It is season 5. That's right. We're starting a whole new year all over again. And this year, Miss Liz's goal is 100 cups of tea. That's right. Last year we did 161. This year, Miss Liz is just removing the morning shows, but we're going to still do afternoon and evenings, and we're going to get 100 cups of tea in there. And I have the incredible John Michaels Matter from Trinidad coming in and speaking to us today on his life story, mental health advocate. He's an author, he's a founder, creator, life coach, youth developer. He's all of that. And we're going to start off the years nice and strong, and we're going to make a difference with a cup of tea. That's right. I said tea. So TEA. Now, if you've been watching all of the promotions and all of the flyers going out for season 5, you'll see the little teacups now. That's a new look that Miss Liz has added this year for tea time. And you'll see that each tea has a different word for my guests, because that is their tea, and this is how we serve tea in this house. We bring a difference through the TEA. So I'm going to bring in John Michael Meyer, and he's going to share a good strong cup of tea with you today. And we're doing, I believe his tea was, let me remember if I got this right, tenacious, empathic, and ambitions. I think I got it right. I'll find out, because I'm going to get John in here and we're going to sip and spill some tea together. So let me get John in here. Welcome, John.
Hi, thank you, Miss Liz, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be with you, and it's amazing to have such a platform. So, hats off to you.
John, and I wanted to flip it up this year, and I wanted to really put the flavors in the cups, and I wanted to get creative. And a lot of people were just like, oh, well, I don't even drink tea, Miss Liz. And I'm just like, you don't got to drink tea. You got to serve tea. There's a big difference, right? And I really like, John, a little bit about what you do with your life and how you became an advocate for mental health. But you've also have a mission that you open, and I want to get into that. I'm going to go back and forth with you today, and we're going to spill, and we're going to make a really messy tea today. So I want to get into the beautifully broken ministry. And I speak of being broken all the time, and broken is beautiful. And when I seen that in your bio, I was like, oh, I want to go with the broken pieces. I want to know how that came about. I know that that was made in 2018, and then we're going to go into 2020 and 2023. We're going to go all over, guys, because Miss Liz wants to do something different with my guests this year. I want to get deep, and I want to get into understanding why they do what they do. So, John, I want you, before you give me the beautifully broken, I want you to tell me who you were as a little boy and who you are now, and then we're going to get into the beautifully broken ministry.
Nice, sure. So, as a little boy, I would say I was the average. Sometimes quiet, sometimes shy. Um, but within the teenage years or adolescent years, that's when things went all over the place, as they would say. And from the adolescent years going through different trials, struggles, um, that is where the birth of Beautifully Broken and this version of myself came from, right? So during my adolescent years, while I was in school, that would be high school, I lost one of my friends to murder. And I did not know how it would have affected me at that stage, as I have lost a lot of other individuals prior to. And that is basically a backstory to how the birth of Beautifully Broken was developed.
So it came from pain, right?
Yeah, basically, yes.
And I think that that's where we really make a difference with advocating, is taking pain to purpose, right? and taking the broken pieces and putting them together and mending them. And you have merchandise and stuff. I've seen like the images of a big bunch of group of youths and that. So you do a
Yeah.
lot of youth development as well. You work with a lot of youths and men mainly, correct?
Yep. Yes, that's correct. Yes.
So who created the branding for the Beautifully Broken? Because it's gorgeous.
So I did it. I did it for myself. Did the concept, did the idea, did the graphic. So when I got the idea of it, I really took some time to develop the thought behind it, develop the ideas surrounding it, develop what the ministry would actually be about, right? The ministry came out of my personal testimony, which I believe we'll get into sometime soon. But most of the artwork, the groundwork, I did mainly by myself, as well as I have a team to help with different ideas, different ventures, different seminars, workshops, and those stuff.
But the reason that I asked you, John, about that is because graphics also is a way of us expressing ourselves. And that's why I wanted to know who created the graphics. I wasn't sure if it was you or if it was somebody else. But I mean, that's our
Yeah,
way of expressing ourselves as well, is through artwork.
correct.
And
Yep.
I've seen some of your artwork. Your work is really amazing. You also do some poetry and writing in your books. You have three amazing books out there that we're going to talk about. But I mean, it comes from the way that we express ourselves and the way that we bring our messages to the world. And I didn't like when I seen that Beautifully Broken, I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I get this. Like, I understand that completely. Because a lot of people, when they hear the word broken, they think of weakness. Where
Correct.
I hear the word broken and I think of strength,
Yep.
because we have to all break in order to shine, right? We all have to light that light in. So I think it's amazing what you're doing. I want to get into before we get into the books. I want to get into your testimony, Michael, John, because
Hmm.
your testimony is really powerful. You speak for a lot of people. You're a motivational speaker. What what is your mission in life and message to everybody out there?
Nice. So I would say my mission in life is just to inspire, to share a unique perspective as we all are. And as as the ministry embodies beautifully broken, my message is really that no matter how broken you might be, in essence, your brokenness brings out that beauty. I once knew that when you have a rose, you have to break it in order to get the center. No, I never really do it, but that's what I heard, right? And it is through our own experiences, it is through our own brokenness, it is through all that we go through or endure as individuals, we are then able to really see that we are strong. There are individuals that might say, "Yeah, I'm strong," but how strong are you if it isn't tested, right? So, in other words, your brokenness is your true story, and how you evolve from it, how you embrace it, how you understand what you have been through, how you use it to inspire, how you use it to motivate, how you use it to encourage others to embrace themselves, embrace their stories, and continue living beautiful lives. So going into the testimony of beautifully broken. As a young as a young man, I was always ambitious. So that was one of the words, right? So I was always ambitious. I was always driven. Um, Coming from where I come from, uh, this part of Trinidad we call what we call quote unquote the ghetto, right? So it is more of a rough edge to society. You learn things faster. Different realities hit you a lot faster. And I was always able to fight. I was always able to push. I was always driven. until one day, as I was mentioning, I got a phone call from a friend who told me that another friend was murdered. And it really took a turn in my life at that point in time. And I went to his funeral with an ex friend. And then the year after, that friend passed as well. Same thing. And then my life spiraled at that point in time because I started to ask myself or question the question that most times we have at some point in time is, what is life actually? Is life worth living? And at that point, I ended up in St. Anne's. Now, down here, that is what we call, as outside would know, the a mental institution, right? So it was a mental health hospital that I ended up in at one point in time. I went through depression. I attempted suicide twice. I've been through, I would say, the darkest of times that some of us would be able to understand and relate. You know, those times where you feel like you can't go anymore. Those times where you cry in the shower and it's only you alone that understand that feeling. That those times where you're up at night and you can't sleep because of all that has been that all that you have been through, all that has been on your mind. Sometimes there are days that you wish you don't get up to see the next day. All those dark and deep moments, I've been there and I've done that and I've attempted suicide twice. And within the I went in the mental health institution twice as well. And within the second time of me going, I remember at that time I was telling my girlfriend at the time that I have things that I need to change or I need to fix. And I wasn't coming out until I was able to fix. Now, for me personally, I thought it would have come from the doctors or the meds or the psychologists or the therapists. Now, this is my personal story. But it came from one day I sat down and in the mental health institution, there's nothing to really do but take meds, eat, and sleep. So I told the nurse one day that I'm a Christian. So I asked her if she could call my father to bring my Bible for me. And then he did. And when he did, I got a word that said, I have you here to raise you up to show the world how great I am. And at that point, I knew everything changed. A lot changed mentally, but still the situation on the outside did not. And I want to put a pin there because sometimes we think that healing happens today or it happens overnight. Or sometimes we get our word and we feel like we on top of the world and we could keep pushing and then we realize that the next day something different happened. And especially with mental health illnesses, some of them they aren't really cures for it. You are just able to manage better what you could now understand. So though my reality on the outside did not change, my mentality towards what I was dealt with, the cards that I have been dealt, changed. And when I came out, I realized that even though I would live forever with a mental disorder, so at that point in time, I suffered from depression, anxiety, and my disorder actually is borderline personality disorder, right? So that is the disorder that I have. And though I know that I would live a lifetime with it, when I came out, my reality and my mentality towards it changed. And at the time, my girlfriend at the time, she said, I know what's going on with you. So to me, I was like, how you could know what's going on with me? So I sit down and I'm like,
Yeah, it's
"Hey,
me. How do you know what's going
yeah,
on with me?
yeah. I was like, come on. But then she goes on to say, you are accustomed being ambitious. You are accustomed with that drive. And since I was hospitalized, I lost everything. Right? I lost that drive, I lost that zeal, I lost that energy. And she said that you are not accustomed being quote unquote weak, not being able to push for yourself. And then she went on to say that I know that you are broken, but to me, you're still beautiful, right? And then that is where Beautifully Broken came about. She said, um, at that point in time, she said, I don't like normal people. So now in my head, I'm like, wait, what you trying to tell me now, boy? Like, like, come on, But then she was like, no, understand. She said, now you have a story to tell. You have survived things that others might not have. And that is the true beauty in brokenness. So for everyone, a message for everyone that feels broken. Once you still have life, you still have another chance. And in essence, that brokenness is what you can use to inspire others.
Yeah.
It's what you can use to help someone else in the same situation. It is ultimately what you can use as your tool or benchmark of strength. Because for anyone that is suffering with mental health illness in particular, every day sometimes feels like a tremendous battle. Just to survive one day sometimes is a lot. It feels like a lifetime. So to anyone there with mental health issues like myself, I know that you are truly strong and you embody what strength is. Just to get up and next day to fight again is really a lot. And this is where Beautifully Broken evolved to help others to let their light shine through their brokenness. And to always remember that no matter what, no matter how broken that you might be or might become, you're always in I would say my father's eyes, in God's eyes, and whoever you pray to, you are always beautiful to him. So,
Well, and I think that it's really important, Mike, John. Like, and this is why I wanted you on as a guest, because I heard you speak on another platform, and I was like, I need John Michaels on my platform. I need him to be that voice for the youths out there that are listening to Tea Time, that are struggling with mental health, because mental health is an everyday thing. There's no magic wand that fixes it. It's a personal journey, and like you said, when you were told, I know what's going on inside of you. How do you know what's going on inside of you unless you're inside of me, right? And the mental health, that's why we have such stigma on it, is because people just assume that they understand what we're going through without even listening to us. And that's the biggest thing, is we're not listening. We're just responding. We're just saying, well, go here, take this pill, take that. And you realize that being in the mental health hospital, that you had to do the work. The pill wasn't going to fix it. The hospital wasn't going to fix it. It had to be you that says, you know what? Okay, this is me and it's within me and I need to fix it. And I'm glad that you have that strong faith, John, because without faith, how do we carry on? Whether it's Buddha or God or whatever we believe in, right? The spiritual universe, uh, you know, we all have something that we believe in that pushes us on, and we need that faith, and that's why I don't speak of religion or stuff like that. I speak of the faith within ourselves. So the cup within ourselves is how we serve and how we bring that to the table. And you gave me a really strong tea, because when I asked you for the 3 words, I was like, oh, I like this tea, because it tells your story. For anybody that knows you, John, when they see these 3 words, they're like, that is John. That is what John does. That's who John is. And this is why we're going deep with tea this season, is because I want people to understand that the tea within ourselves is how we serve. So when I get asked, Miss Liz, is that a good tea? You're doubting your tea. So I don't know. You tell yourself, is it good? you know?
yeah,
But I didn't get that from you, John. You gave me the 3 words and I was like, yeah, he gets it. He gets it. and that's what I want the listeners and viewers out there to get it. Your tea is within you. Each tea is going to be different. You can still use the same words as that we're using because it's a different story. It's your story to tell. And that's what you said, John, was, the story to tell. One day you'll have that story and you have your story. I I just really want to commend you on your strength because mental health is a battle. One day at a time sometimes is a real battle. It's a struggle, you know. Um, and I think mental health also has a stigma on it and this look on it that you have to look depressed. You have to be depressed to have mental health. Well, that's not how it works. You could be smiling, the best business person out there, making seven figures, and you're still struggling with depression, and nobody knows, right? So
Okay.
I
Yep.
want to bring that voice, and I want the viewers and listeners out there to understand that this year on season 5 with Miss Liz, we're going to do deep teas and we're going to really understand why we serve what we serve, why we write what we write. John, you wrote 3 amazing books that I want to get into, and they do tell a little bit about you as well as an individual. So if you want to share, I'm just going to read the titles out. I'm not sure if I have them in the right order, but you have The Rebranding Relationships, Self Love, the Foundation of Relationships, Lessons My Father Never Taught Me, The Perfect Gentleman, and Finances on a Page, A Comprehension Guide to Financial Management. Now, I hope I have them in the right order, and I'll get you to share a little bit on books. But before we get into John's books, I just want to do a special shout out to Best Version Media for supporting Miss Liz for the last year, and we'll be supporting Miss Liz's Tea Times for the next 3 years with the podcast and other stuff out there as well. So we will be doing special shout outs this year on Tea Time. So if you want to shout out for your business and stuff like that, you can also do that. John, we're going to get into your books now. So again, thank you to Best Version Media for supporting Miss Liz and her journey with podcasting and making a difference with tea. So John, share a little bit about your books. We'll start with the first book. I hope I have them in the right order.
Yes, so they are actually in the right order, right? So the first one, just to make it short, self-love, the foundation of relationship. After being through my experience with mental health issues and challenges and the hospital, I realized, as you rightfully said and rightfully picked up within the conversation, it had to be about me. Everything, and I don't want it to come across or sound as self-centered or arrogant, but everything comes from within you. So, for example, you can't pour from a cup. We're talking about tea. How could you pour from a cup that has nothing? How can you spill tea if there isn't any tea to spill? Right? So I had to realize and understand that who we are comes from within us. And sometimes along the line, we look to others, we look to relationships. I don't feel fulfilled, so I need someone else to fill that void in my life. I don't feel complete, so I need someone else to, as they say, quote unquote, complete me. And I realized that we had that order in the wrong order. And I realized it started with us. We had to be complete in ourselves. That doesn't mean complete doesn't mean exempted from flaws. It means that we understand who we are. It means that we know our strengths, we know our weaknesses, we know what we are capable of, and we know the things that we don't want to really get into. But we know who we are in its entirety. So self love was really about being able to love you before you can pour that love out into someone else. It is being able to look within before you look outside. So once we could develop who we are internally, then we are better able to deal with relationships external. And these relationships could be any type of relationships. It could be family relations, it could be friendships, it could be um, boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, husband. It could be any type of relationship, but you need to be whole first in yourself to really be able to bring value to a relationship. And that starts with deep internal work. That starts with deep reflection. That starts with you understanding who you are, you accepting who you are, you accepting those broken pieces. And that in our essence is what self-love, the foundation of relationship, is about. Because if we as individuals can do our own internal work and could find ourselves complete within ourselves or whole within ourselves, then we are better able to show forth to the world who we are as individuals, not looking for someone else to, as they say, quote unquote, complete us. So it's really about that internal work. So self-love is really about that internal work. And it came as the first book after me having to really go through it for myself, me having to go through the therapy sessions, I took meds at one point, me having to take the meds to do the internal work, to do the hard work. Sometimes it's work that we don't even want to do, because it brings up so much. But you would realize that true strength comes from being able to fight back in a place where you feel vulnerable, in that place of your own self where that those dark times, those dark moments, the things that you don't want to touch, if you are able to accept it as reality, then you would realize how strong you really are pushing forward. So that is a little bit on self-love and how the idea of self-love, the foundation of relationships, came about.
And I think
Uh,
it's deeply important that we all know what self-love is. The only person that can complete us is ourselves. You know, I always say this to my children, John. I say, your partner is a bonus. Once you love yourself, then the bonuses come in. Then the other relationships come in. Then the other people come in. You know, we focus so much in today's society that we need a partner to feel complete. We need a partner within ourselves first. We need to know ourselves. We need to mirror ourselves. We need to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I am beautifully broken, but I am special. I am capable. I can do this on my own. And that's when we let people come into our lives, when we can get to that point of healing and saying, you know what? I self love myself. And it's not arrogance, it's not ego, it's God wants us to love ourselves. You know, our faith wants us to love ourselves. And it's like you said, John, how can we spill a tea if we have no tea? How can we give when we have nothing within our cup? You know, and then expect a relationship that won't break when we're not even full. So we need the
hmm,
fullness within ourselves first in order to get to where we are today, you know? And I love that you keep bringing back the tea, because this is what we do is we serve a real life tea here. We don't serve a cup of tea. We serve the cup within ourselves, you know, who you are, whether it's a cup, whether it's a mug, whether it's a jug. You drink your tea the way you like it, right? And you serve the way you like it. And there's no judgment on how we serve. It's how we bring our different flavors and blends to the table, and how we bring it and serve humanity is what we're doing. John, I want to get into the next book. That book, when I read the title, I was just like, oh, because we always look up to our daddies as father figures, as that role model, that example. So, how did you get to be such a young man with such wisdom and come up with this in the second book?
so, so first of all, I'll put a disclaimer on what. So the title is Lessons My Father Never Taught, right? And I do appreciative of the fact that I do have a father that is in my life, right? And before I could even publish, I had to get his permission to be able to publish. Now, the book really came from the reality that where I come from in my um, community, there aren't much young men with fathers, and by extension, the world to a certain degree as well. And then when I looked at it, I realized that sometimes some of the biggest problems in society stems from this idea that we as men, so I'm talking more to the men, uh, we don't really have examples to really look up to, or good examples to really look up. And as we're talking about the cup of tea again, how can I be a man if I've never really seen what a man's supposed to be like? How can I be an example of a quote unquote good man, however that looks to you, if I have not seen it for myself? And they say children learn what they see. So within me doing the work that I do with youths and community, I realize that a major issue that we face within my community, that is, and by extension, others that could understand, is that we don't know what it is like to look up to a male figure that is a grounded individual, a male figure that is upright, a male figure that is honest, a male figure that is deemed quote unquote good, right? And even to the female side, when dealing with younger females, you would realize, or within my scope, I realized that those individuals, those young women that were raised without father figures, they do a lot of different things to try to fill that void. They look to so many different individuals trying to fill that void, or many different avenues, whether it be drugs, whether it be anything to try to fill a void that they really feel that they can't fill. And lessons my father never taught me really came out of the fact that I saw that there was a need for guidance. So this book, in essence, was like a father to those that don't have one. So it's about teaching the lessons that we as men should have been taught from our fathers. The lessons of how to be men of integrity, how to be men of honesty, how to treat women as they should be treated. To handle situations with care, to handle situations with strength, but not using ego as strength. So within community, within the male community, sometimes we think strength is being dominant. Sometimes we think strength is, being overly aggressive. And these are some misconceptions that we as men try to adapt for ourselves because of the fact that we really most times, sometimes, don't have good male figures to look up to or to emulate. So the idea of lessons my father never taught me really came about from that need of realizing that within my community in particular, there aren't much male figures to look up to. And because of that, there's a cycle that continues. And this book is just one avenue or one way in which that the community can address this problem and then seek to move forward from it.
Well, I think this book, John, also opens up to all global wide because it's an issue that's globally, father figures, and it's like you said, how can I be a gentleman if I've never been taught how to be a gentleman? You know, uh, how can you ask me to be something that I never had? Because we do learn and teach from our elders. If our elders are not teaching us, how do we expect to learn? So we have to go out and we notice that things are not right and we fix it. And I feel that this is what this book is doing is it's giving you that lesson if you never had that father figure to read this book and to understand that It's not just in Trinidad, in your community, it's a global pandemic. you know there's so many different pandemics out there. It's not always about a virus, it's about global issues that we're not speaking of. And father
mm,
figures is one issue that is not spoken about. It is not, a topic that comes to the table. Maybe that's an avenue that we can start opening, is having these conversations and understanding why fathers are not stepping up. Maybe it's because they never had that father to step up to. So it's a generational cycle. They were never taught it, so how can they teach it to their sons and their daughters? And it is true, when a daughter is raised with no father figure, she will seek attention in a lot of ways that are not healthy. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, John, because we need these conversations on the table. We need to have this
yeah,
open and raw conversation on hard topics of issues that are affecting worldwide, not just in one community, not just in one country, but around the globe. That this is happening, and it goes for mother figures as well. You can reverse it. So the mother who never taught you how to be a mother, you know,
mm,
I, and it's generational cycle and patterns that are done over and over and over again until we have that person like yourself, John, that speaks up and says, "Hey, I'm noticing this. Let's fix it. Let's bring you
yeah,
some information. Let's see why it's not working." And it goes right back to the first book that you wrote, self love. You know, the
yeah,
fathers may not have that self love within themselves, so how can they give love to a child? There's so many reasons why people are the way they are and why they serve the way they are, right? So how did you go from self love to father figures to financials? Like, I'm just like, and finances. Oh, okay, so he's taking us on another route, he's going down another path. So how did you get on that journey, John?
nice. So as you actually made the link, um, lessons my father never taught me was like an attachment to self-love, just more directed to males, right? Now, finances on a page came about last year, and it is one of many within a series, right? So again, the overarching theme of my books is actually personal development. So self-love is personal development. Lessons my father never taught me. Again, personal development. Finances, personal development. And going back to the same thing, finances, I believe, is something that a lot of individuals weren't really taught how to actually manage. And the concept of finances on a page was to break down all these big financial terms and all these things for one for any individual to understand. So yes, the title is finances on a page, but it has many pages. But the idea is that you can chart your finances on one page. So the financial information that you need as a person, as an individual, you can't do this on one page. And the concept of this series is on a page series, right? So it is actually breaking down personal development or professional development topics into into books that any individual of any level of intellectual capacity could be able to understand. So it is breaking it down from child to adult to expert, anyone could pick it up and be able to say, oh, this is how I do this. 1 plus 1 equals 2. So the idea is really breaking down all these big topics into simple, concise versions of things that you can use, that you can apply within your own personal life, that you don't really need an expert or a coach to actually guide you through. So finances on a page is the first of the series. Then we're going on to business on a page, leadership on a page, public speaking on a page, a whole range of personal and professional development topics that we can break down and simplify so that any individual of any age or any background could really understand and apply it practically to their lives. So this is how that aspect of that part came into the picture.
See, and the books all align because now I get it. Because now that you've shared the self love and the father figure and the finances, it all starts with self love and self healing, and self awareness. That it starts with you and it ends with you, right? Because financing at any age, when you're a child, one plus one. Well, you're going to kindergarten, you're learning that one plus one. It's not mom and dad, it's not the teacher, it's you. It's all within you. And I see the alignment of all the work that you do, John, and it all flows together. And that's what makes a strong team, is when it all aligns together. When each book, each organization that you've created, each flow of work that you've done, your advocating, your speaking, your training, your coaching, it all flows together, right? It all comes from the same cup. It comes from you. It's all within
Yeah,
you, you know.
yeah,
It's truly inspiring when you see that, when people understand their purpose in life, that you open up so many doors for others, and you just never know who's listening and who's being inspired. When I heard you speak at Carl's event, I was just like, oh, I need this boy. Like, I need his tea. I need to understand why we're not getting these voices out in the world. Why
yeah,
is it being blindsided with the incredible work that you're doing? And that's why I have this platform and this opportunity for my guests, is for them to sit and share all of the stuff that they do and why they do it. Now, would I do all of the stuff that my guests do? No, I wouldn't. And that's why I want to have these deep conversations with you guys this year, is because I want to understand why we're not bringing these to the table, why we're not bringing these discussions to the table. Are we afraid of them? Is it because it's too much work for us to do within ourselves? The self healing part is really a journey. Uh,
yeah,
John, and that's something that you've really worked hard on. And I think by being in the mental hospital and having that time of connecting with yourself, within yourself, without the distractions of the world, and saying to yourself and saying, it's not the doctors, it's not the hospital, it's not the medication that's going to heal me, it's me. Taking that ownership and accountability for yourself is the first awareness of self awareness and self love.
mm,
So I really want to thank you for that, John. But I want to get into your tea, because we keep talking about your tea. So we're going to go back into your tea. So the other words that you gave me was tenacity and
right,
empath- empathic and ambition. We
right.
talked about the ambition. Let's talk about the other two words that you gave me for tea.
Nice. So when I saw T as I would say describe myself with that acronym, it was pretty easy again because I've done the work on myself. So I've done the hard work, the introspection I've done. And tenacity, or being tenacious, is that virtue of never giving up, right? And I used to do fitness and bodybuilding before, right? So that was before my mental breakdown, I would say. And the year that I had my mental breakdown, I competed in a national show here, right? And that was my passion. I was into fitness. I love fitness. That was everything to me, right? And I did it. And for anyone into fitness, or more specifically bodybuilding, you know that it is every day. It's literally a lifestyle. You get up, you make sure you eat on time. It's very regimented, and it takes a lot of hard work and dedication over a long period of time. So I built that ability to keep pushing. I built that resilience to keep moving, to keep pushing forward. But I realized that I had that quality more so when I came out of the mental health hospital. So it was no longer just physical. I thought it was all physical. But then there's that mental as well, that mindset where No matter how hard it gets, I'm still going to push through. No matter how dark it might seem, I'm still going to fight and push. And I remember going for a competition after I came out of St. Anne's, and it was the hardest competition ever. So that's in mental health hospitals. After I came out of there, it was the hardest because, as I said, while in the mental health institution, I lost everything. I wasn't eating, I was not training, everything just went all over. And I said that no matter what that year, no matter what happened that year, I am still going to push. And I ended up coming like second to last in her competition. But to me, it was me coming first. Because whereas I could have stopped, whereas I had all reason not to go back, I knew that I had to do it for myself. I knew that I had to do it again for myself. And I kept pushing forward. I kept pushing forward. And I remember someone saying before, they said, I never thought that I would see you again, but you always keep coming back. So no matter how hard it gets, no matter that I might take some time off, no matter the downtime, I will keep coming back. And that is what tenacity is. Being able to keep pushing forward, even when all the odds are stacked against you, even when it doesn't seem like you can make it, just to show up and keep pushing forward is what being tenacious is about. So that was the first word that came to mind when I saw T, the acronym.
So give me a little bit on your E word.
Nice. So empathy or being empath, right? So this actually is a very deep one, meaning that because of my disorder, because of the things that I've seen, I've witnessed, the friends that I've lost, the family that I've lost, all the losses that I've had in life, I did not have it in me at a certain point of time the ability to empathize. So empathy is about putting yourself in someone else's shoes, right? It is often mixed up with sympathy. You know, sympathy is feeling a sense of sorry for someone else for whatever they might be enduring or going. Empathy, however, is being able to put yourself in their shoes. Now, you would not fully understand, but being able to trade places can give you a bit of an insight as to how someone else might be feeling. So, going back to it, because I lost so much in my life, I did not have the ability to empathize. So, I could not see or understand what you were going through, and I did not care. For me, all I could have seen in my mirror, or all that I saw in my mirror, was the pain that I was going through as an individual. So I did not care about anyone else. But within going through therapy, I realized that that was a fault of mine. And I had to do that internal work to be able to really and genuinely connect with others. You see, and life is about connection. It is about being within a society that can connect. The way that we can connect, the way that we can talk to others. This is, in essence, what life really is about. You know, take everything away from us as individuals, as human beings. There's that longing to connect, whether it be to parents, whether it be to friends, whether it be to spouses. We all need to be able to connect. And I had to do that internal work to develop that skill of empathy, to develop the idea that you alone aren't going through something. You alone aren't feeling that pain. And there's a story that someone else can tell as well that can be very valuable to you as an individual. So it was about learning how to step back from my own personal pain and to really delve into the stories of others, to listen, as you said earlier, to others, to really see and experience the story of others. And I think there's that in life to me is one of the greatest gifts and blessings that we have. And that is why I personally would commend you, Miss Liz, because of this platform, because this is what this platform does. It helps to connect. As you rightfully say, you wouldn't go and take everything that your guest says, but it helps again to connect. It helps us to see different. It helps us to understand different. And they in turn can connect to someone that needs to be connected to them. So again, this is an amazing platform. And I do wish you all the best and to keep up with the great work that you are doing within this area of connecting or bringing connection between individuals.
Well, thank you so much, John, for saying that. You know, it's Miss Liz putting herself in your shoes and understanding that your story, I may not understand the pain, I might not understand the journey, but it's listening and putting myself in your shoes, not walking in your shoes, but putting myself in your shoes and understanding that we all see and do different. We all see different perspectives. What I might see as blue, you might see as gray, and that's okay. We don't need to argue about it. We don't need to debate about it. And if you see gray, you see gray. I see blue, I see blue, but come together and stop the division, you know, understand why people are the way they are. Don't be so quick to judge. You mentioned, John, that you live with bipolar. There's such a stigma on bipolar, but does anybody actually understand what bipolar is? Has anybody ever educated us on what bipolar is? We give these titles of mental illnesses out there. I've been diagnosed with conversion disorder, and a lot of people don't know what that is. And doctors, they told me it's you're crazy in the head. So okay, I'm crazy in the head. Let me be crazy and let me just try and figure out what the heck conversion disorder is. Like, you're just giving us labels and titles, but you're not telling us what the disorders are, what the side effects are, what to look out for, how to prevent episodes and side effects, from medication and therapy. If too much therapy is no good for us as well for some mental illnesses. If you're just speaking about it, you're just speaking. It's just like when you're speaking on a stage. If you're just repeating and you're programmed and you're just not speaking no longer from the heart, are you actually making that difference? Are you actually making that impact, right? And that's what I
Yeah,
see with your story, John, is that you keep moving and you keep opening different paths and different avenues in that. You have other organizations that you've opened, and I just love the names of them. Uncaged Life Coaching. Like, uncage yourself. Miss Liz cages herself for protection because of my story, but just
yeah,
the word uncage is an engaging word to want to know more, to understand more. And you also have the Mission 300. There's incredible organizations out there that we don't know about because we're being blindsided by today's society of that's different. We're not going to touch that. We're not going to open that. We're going to go to where it's comfortable and where we know the name, we know the brand. It's like going to McDonald's. McDonald's, but you're not coming to Miss Liz's house. You know, you can have a burger at Miss Liz's house too. I do make burgers with tea. you know, but
yeah,
it's the understanding of stories and understanding individualities, that we all come from different walks of life. We all come from different countries, different traditions, different cultures, different upbringings, but we all can come together when we understand each other. And John, that's what you do with the work that you do. So I want to really thank you for your services for humanity, because you have brought a lot of people together through your story and through your journey. And I hope that the listeners out there today are getting the journey starts within. Like John said, if you don't have a tea, how can you serve tea? Miss Liz can't serve you guys a tea unless I serve my tea. And I do serve my tea. I take care of my tea. Self-care, self-awareness, self-reflections. These are things, and we have roller coasters. We go on a ride. We take a journey. So, John, what final message would you like to leave everybody today with?
Nice. So my final message, I would say, is stems from Beautifully Broken. Life will break you at some point in time. Will. But always remember that it is within your broken pieces that there lies the story. It is within overcoming trials that there is triumph. And it is within the mess there comes a message. So to anyone that feels like it's too hard to endure, myself being within situations myself, I can tell you, just keep pushing forward. No matter how hard it gets, I know sometimes we feel like giving up, but just keep pushing forward. And the world needs your story. It needs you. And that is why you are here. And the faster that we find purpose and the faster that we find passion, is the faster we'll be actually be able to live. You see, it is one thing to have life, but it is another to actually be alive. You see, so we can have life, but don't have the zeal to live. We can have life, but don't have the energy to get up every day. But to be alive is to be free. It is to be yourself. It is to be energized with life. It is to wake up and to keep pushing. So no matter how hard things might become, no matter how dark the tunnel might be, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. That has come from me who has been through it, who have been through those dark days, who have attempted suicide. I have been there and I know what it is like. But I also know what it is like to be on the other side. And it is beautiful to find your story and tell it to the entire world. Because there no point in time in life again would there ever be another you. There would never be another Miss Liz. There would never be another John Michael. Likewise, there would never be another you. So you are a gift to this world. And let your gift so shine.
Well, thank you so much, John. It's been a pleasure having you on Tea Time. Do not leave. I'm just going to wrap it up. We're going to be back at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Chris D.T. Gordon. He'll be talking about his personal story and becoming a survivor. He was a survivor to a striver, and we're going to be talking about the tag. So if you want to know what the tag is, you have to tune in at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the second Tea Time of this week. John, thank you for launching season 5, being my first guest of the season. I am honored to have you here. I want to thank all of my listeners and viewers out there, all of the people who tune in to and support Miss Liz. Without you, I cannot do what I'm doing. If you would like to know more about Miss Liz, you can check out Miss Liz's at www.misslizsteatimes.com. If you'd like to check out more on John Michaels, you can check out his link tree at Uncaged Life Coaching. It is on the platform. In the audio, it will be in the description box. You can find it all in there. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And let's make season 5 a deep, strong cup of tea. And let's really get those TEAs out there in the world and make a difference, one cup of tea at a time. Until then, I will see everybody at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check out Ms. Liz's platforms and we'll see what we can do. And if you would like to be a guest on Tea Time, you can check out Ms. Liz and book me through my website or send me a direct message at my email at bookingmissliz.com. And before we wrap up, I did forget the disclaimer. So this is for educational purposes only. So we are doing this podcast for educational awareness. So thank you again, John Michaels, for joining me. And I will see everybody at 7 p.m. for the second Tea Time of season 5, 2024, January 4th. Thank you.